This week's episode is sponsored by Electric Collab, a psychology based branding and web design studio that positions founders to win more premium clients with a brand they're wildly proud of. If you want to serve a premium audience, you need brand messaging, design, and a digital presence that reflects the elevated quality of your work. Spoiler alert, Electric Collab is my brand studio. So if a rebrand has been in your mind, I would love to meet you. Learn more by visiting electriccollab.com. Now, on to the episode. Welcome to Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman, a podcast celebrating unconventional choices and asking curious questions through the lens of a happy, child-free life. Every week, I chat with experts on today's most interesting topics, inspiring us to think differently, live intentionally, and find fulfillment on our terms. Whether you're child-free or seeking a space where parenthood isn't part of the conversation, you are welcome here. It's not about comparison, it's about possibility. Let's get curious together. We are talking about a topic I find really fun: home organizing. We seem to have this cultural obsession with stuff. We keep things we don't need, we attach meaning to objects, and even though we know clutter stresses us out, we continually buy more. Today's guest, Sarah Parisi, has built a career around helping people rewrite those patterns. She's the founder of the Clutter Curator, a psychology-based professional organizing company that helps people create spaces that support the way we want to live. We're going to chat about mindset around our belongings, some fun organization hacks, and the freedom that comes from owning less. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Emily. I'm so excited to be here and talk about all the things you just hit on.
I am so excited to have you. This is almost one of those sleeper topics in my mind. I don't know if most of us are walking around thinking about home organization consciously every single day, but we are dealing with our stuff constantly, from the way we get coffee out of our pantry, figuring out what to wear, where did I set my keys, which purse are my sunglasses in. It's around us all of the time. So I'm really excited to bring some more tangible awareness to how we interact things and how we could maybe make some shifts that make our daily life easier.
Yeah, all those things affect us. And so many of us are like, well, that's just how I do it, or that's just how it's been. And realizing we can make these adjustments that will have a genuine impact on our day, our mood, our self worth. All these things are incorporated in our stuff and how easy or how difficult it is to manage our home.
Let's start with figuring out how we got here. We've had a conversation on this podcast before about sustainability, and we talked about the history of consumerism. We haven't had so much stuff to even think about organizing for all that long. So I pulled some stats just so that I could understand what's going on. Can I share those with you and then get your take?
Yes.
All right, so this is what I found, and I'll say some sources, but I'll link all this stuff in the show notes. So according to NPR, over the last 50 years, the average size of a home in America has nearly tripled. So our houses have gotten 3 times bigger. The average home in America contains 300,000 items. That's the average, not just rich people. We have over 50,000 storage facilities in the US, which is more than 5 times the number of Starbucks. And if you think about your drive down the highway, Sarah, you and I are both in Chicago. Even in expensive real estate downtown Chicago, there are so many storage facilities. Couple more. Americans spend more on shoes, jewelry, and watches than we do on higher education. And lastly, women will spend more than 8 years of our lives shopping, according to the Daily Mail.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's shocking to read it back to back, but none of it on its own feels wrong. So, can you just tell us from your perspective, how did we get to this place culturally of spending so much time and money on stuff?
I find in our generation, especially I'm in my late 30s, going into 40s, we're still holding the habits of our parents of needing stuff in stock, in bulk, because a grocery store is a trip to get there or it just feels different. And then we're now having this new world of we can have it instantly. And when we're overstimulated or overstressed, we shop and then we buy things. So we're having this, let's hold on to it and store it and bring lots in, where younger generations, they're like, we'll bring lots in and then we'll get rid of it as quickly as possible. Our world right now is just, we're all looking to self-soothe. And unfortunately, it's coming at purchasing and feeling we're prepared for something. And that's then filling our homes with stuff and then making us stressed out on the other end. So we buy to soothe and then it arrives and we're stressed again. So then the cycle continues. And then we feel guilty because we feel bad for the earth. We feel bad for the labor. We feel bad for all these things. Then I have to hold on to it and I can't get rid of it. Or I have to give it to someone so that it has worth of what I was initially purchasing it for. So we're just in a very sticky season. And my take on that is setting up a vision, what we want to feel in our home and our space, being wasteful in this moment of clearing out the things that are past decisions that we've made, and then really holding strong to our habit shifts that we're going to have and shopping and what we bring into our spaces. But it's not an easy shift because of the marketing.
The marketing is working.
The marketing is working.
And you bring up a good point. It's a combination of this dopamine hit that we get when we make the purchase. And we've learned on here before, really the dopamine ends as soon as you've completed the transaction. It ends even before the thing arrives if we're ordering something online. So it's a combination of this dopamine hit with the unlimited access we have to just get anything on the internet from anywhere in the world within less than a week, if not sooner. So let's talk about this in two sections. If we start with the editing piece, and it almost makes me cringe. I'll see people post, I love a purge. I love a clean out. And I'm like, oh my God, you're just trashing everything and then you're going to buy it again. So let's start there. The psychology of stuff. I assume that there's a fear for people who are thinking about hiring you that you're going to come in with your team and just throw out all of their belongings. Tell me more about what you witness in people's relationship to their things from a psychology perspective.
We always start by when clients will have a consult about the purge or the edit. Let's be very clear that we use the word edit because it's intentional. We're really looking at the pieces, the things, and making a conscious decision. I don't want this anymore, and I'm not going to purchase it more. If we're purging, that means we're just clearing out the let's burn down the house and we'll start fresh. And the hope is that, oh, if I start fresh, I'll change. But wherever we are, there we are. So we really focus in on editing intentionally. And we'll see clients during the session where they start getting edit happy and we pull them back. Okay, hold on. I know the goal is to have a calmer space, to feel good, to be able to manage your inventory of clothing or shoes or whatever we're focusing on. But it's making sure we're not getting rid of things that we're just going to rebuy, right? It's making sure we're looking at our each individual piece and saying, does it fit well? Is it comfortable? Is it a color that I'm drawn to that I'm going to wear? Or am I keeping it because I paid way too much for it or it has a happy memory to it? And really understanding the why behind why we're keeping it or why we're letting it go and sitting with that and making sure that we take that information and apply it as we continue after a session.
It sounds deep emotionally.
It is. And when we start speaking with clients, we ask them about their family history, how they grew up. There's so much embedded in our stuff and why we keep and why we edit, why we buy, why we don't. So it's really looking as we're going through each individual piece to understand the deeper story behind it.
I know it's very individual, but when you're working with people, I can make assumptions, but you and your team are in these homes doing this in real time. When they have just too much, what do you find is typically the reason?
There's this idea that I should have it. I think a lot of people think that they should be hosting or they should have games for entertaining. They should have fancy glassware for when they have guests over. And when we ask them how to use your home, how would you love to use your home? And if for someone that's living in Chicago, if you're out in the world entertaining and enjoying your friends, you don't need all of this stuff for maybe the 10% of your life. Because I find a lot of times that we're holding on to this 10% of I should or I can't wait to entertain. And we never use the items to fill that 10%. And the items in our home to satisfy that once or twice a year hosting event take up 50% of the space in our home. It's taking up real estate for the hopes of doing an activity. It's that if I build it, it will happen thing. But a lot of times we'll be working with clients and they'll be like, I used to host 10 years ago. It's just not how I live my life anymore. And so it's removing an old self or an old experience and being okay with walking into the new season set up for what and how you're actually using your home and your stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. I have done this where I'm like, no, no, no. We need that plate for Easter. one day, mega platter or something. And I just think, but on that day, I'm going to want it.
I think there's not a time frame or frequency of using it. It's thinking about, is it highly unique? Is there something else that you could use that you use more? And if you have a home that allows for that once a year thing, enjoy it, live it up. But if you're constantly feeling tight and that thing that you use once a year could be something else to fulfill that need, then thinking about it in that way. Right? So we don't wanna feel like we have to be minimalist and we have to take away. It's just making sure that on a day-to-day basis, our home is feeling good and feeling supportive, and the martini glasses that you maybe use once every 5 years are not taking up prime real estate in your cabinets.
Okay, so maybe I should back up one step further. I'm sure before you get to the edit, you have lots of conversations about, like you just said, let's talk about how you want to live your life. Tell me more about that process. You think most people are in touch with reality when it comes to what they want their home to support their lifestyle? Or are we living in this make believe, what if I need it one day kind of world?
By the time they reach out, something's brewing. This isn't working. I'm fed up and I want to change. Or they're transitioning. They're maybe moving from college into their first home. They're buying their first home. Maybe they're getting married. So there's something maybe that's prompting in that way. But the conversation is, when do you feel great? And sometimes we have clients that are traveling constantly for work and they're like, I feel really good in the hotel room. I feel calm. I feel grounded. I have all the things I need. And we play on that. Okay, so the reality is you need a lot less than you think because you've experienced it. When you come home, you feel stressed. We want to avoid that. We want to feel good in our home. We look at that. We try to have them paint a visual picture of where they'd like to go or get some inspiration and think about what it feels like when you're looking at these pictures. A question I have for most clients is, if you could put a percentage to your home of what you use on a monthly basis, and then what is the percentage of things that you could let go easily? So it gets them thinking on both ends of what could leave and what they actually use. And it's hard, and I always tell them, "I'm not gonna hold you to it, but I'm curious." And it gets them being like, "Ooh, 5% or 100%." It gives me a gauge of where they are motivationally, but also what's realistic.
That is so helpful. I have experienced this with my bras. Just to give one example, I went to a real bra person, somebody who like fits you and sizes you and all the things. If you have not done this, I highly recommend. If you live in Chicago, go to Janice at Bloomingdale's. It was an incredible experience. I brought two friends. And bras are one of those things, at least for me. I had, I don't know, probably 10. And of course, four of them haven't fit in 10 years, but they're in there because they were pretty, or maybe one of them was really expensive and whatever. And then, okay, got rid of all the bras, got new ones that fit, which were a completely different size than anything I actually owned. The way I feel every day looking at my five bras, knowing that I could just pick any one and they're all going to work and they're perfect. This is such a silly example, but after that, I was, oh my God, what if everything in my closet was like this?
Yeah.
And it's so not. I'm sifting through, okay, well, not this, not at this weight, not in this season, not with these shoes, whatever. And then it's, okay, well, here are the 11 things that work out of the 200 that are in here. The amount of time, and it feels so high end to me to look at my bra drawer and be like, oh my God, these are all a perfect fit, which is counterintuitive. I used to think it felt so high end to just have a bunch of stuff.
Right. Yeah. For you to take a moment to take the time to get the bras and do it. And then you've now enjoyed every step of the process. How great is that? That you have bought it, it's been the right thing. And now every day when you pick your bra, you get a hit of dopamine from that whole experience. And that's what we want every piece of your home to feel that way. I know clients will buy skin products or the bedding that they have on their bed. All of these things are spaces that when you put the cream on, it feels really good, or it's part of your routine. Or if you get in the bed and your sheets are scratchy or too hot, that has an impact. You want everything in your space, especially because that's where we recharge. Hopefully, the space that we feel safest in is supporting us and not pinging us of shame or, oh, your house should be tidy. You should be able to clean up. So it's, yes, your experience with your bras. We want that hit in every space. I love that for you.
Thank you. I got a long way to go.
I have an opposite experience. I have only a few bras and I like that, but I find myself picking the Costco Calvin Klein, basically t-shirt bra over all my other ones. But I take note, you have the other ones in there, and there's occasions that I need those for shirts and stuff. But I am very cognizant. You pick that one every time if that's what you're most comfortable, and that's great. It's really being discerning when you yourself are doing the activity and thinking about how your body feels versus being, oh, well, Emily went to Bloomingdale's and got these Regal bras. Sarah went to Costco. We both have the same experience, and that's what we're going for. Really personalizing it, understanding what makes you feel good.
It's so powerful. I like this. Let's bring in the dopamine. We're not saying let's not have dopamine hits, right? We talked about that with the shopping, which we know doesn't really work. It doesn't really last even until you get the thing. So, reframing, organizing, and having the right amount of things in a place where you can access them, you can reach them, you can see them. There's a dopamine hit within that that works again and again and again. Every time you go to that drawer, every time you need that item, to me, that's helpful emotionally to get motivated to make these shifts.
Yeah, and it's scrolling on our phones or shopping. That's more of in an addict purge space where if we set up our habits right and we get our spaces feeling good, that's more continual dopamine hits, continual reward for the activity that we've done. That's the key. That's where we're going. And again, it's not an easy shift, but when you start doing it at little increments, it has such an impact.
You mentioned worth at the beginning of our conversation. What do you mean by that? How does our self-worth or identity relate to this topic?
Clients will send their photos of their befores and they're stressed. They have so much anxiety where I can see what the space is going to look like at the end. A lot of clients, I don't think they think they're worthy of having a tidy home. Their story is, I've always been messy. This is how I grew up. This is, I didn't have, now I have. So now I shop a lot. There's just this idea that only people of a certain stature can have this. And in realizing that at any version of yourself, you can be worthy of having a home that feels good and is supportive. But it's a new concept for a lot of people. It's not that you have to throw so much money at this process to make it happen. It's more about using what you already exist in your home and editing out again the excess. I think a lot of people, they don't understand the impact of their stuff. And if there's things in our homes that are not telling us that we're worthy and telling us that we're good, and our space doesn't feel that way, then it's telling us that we're not enough or we should have done this. But anything in our home that feels ugh, if there's a coffee mug that reminds you of an old job that you no longer work there and had a bad experience, that is telling us that that thing is more worthy in our home than we are, in a way. Or a client the other day was saying, I keep everything because I feel bad getting rid of it. And I was like, so then you've decided that the things are more important than your mental health. You've decided that you feel so much shame of letting go of those things, and that's more important than you feeling good in your space.
That's so relatable, though. You're saying this, and it helps us be like, well, wait, yes, do I want a morning coffee experience where I'm not reaching over this mug that has a bad memory every single morning, or do I want to keep the stupid mug? But I think the piece of feeling guilty getting rid of it is so resonant. Whether it's because I spent money on it and then you feel I shouldn't have because now I don't even use it. So that was a dumb financial choice on my behalf. Now I have to live with it because I don't deserve to just get rid of it. Or the sustainability piece with the planet. Anytime I have something, and it's so easy for me mentally to relate this stuff to body image, but it's if I gain a few pounds, I have jeans that don't fit. I don't like to keep the jeans because it reminds me every day that these jeans don't fit. But then I also feel I can't just get rid of these jeans because I know that even if I donate them, percent of that stuff goes into the landfill. So now I'm feeling guilty that I spent money on the jeans. I'm feeling guilty that I gained weight and they don't fit. All of a sudden, I'm miserable. Just shut the closet door and move on. And then we'll do the whole thing again tomorrow. How do you help people break this cycle for good? Not just let's throw out the jeans this one time. How do you help people really make a change?
I think the most important part, if you're currently feeling overwhelmed in your home, is getting it back to a state that feels good. So if we have a closet that we've made the hard decisions on, we've tried on all the clothes, we've said, this is what looks good on my body, this is what doesn't. I think it's okay to have a bin that says grown out of or something that feels positive, not too small, too big. It's okay to have some grace in those periods. If I'm really bloated, I do really enjoy these jeans, but I don't need them all the time or whatever. But it's getting us reset. If we do not reset, the things keep crowding in and it starts blurring our vision of for what we want our space to look like. So first doing a proper reset, being honest, having someone there with you. If it's a friend that could be supportive, that is going to just listen and be there for you, great. If it's me or someone in this career, awesome. It's having someone there so you can vocalize why you're keeping it or vocalize why you want to get rid of it. Because there's a lot that happens in our brains during this decision making that if we don't hear ourselves say it, it doesn't fully register. Exactly what you just said, that all goes on in your head, but now you vocalize, that sounds ridiculous. Or I can understand why I think that way. So the most important part is having the goal of I want a clear home or whatever your goal is, keeping that in mind and making sure that when you're going through the editing process, you're looking back at the goal and saying, does this sweater that is itchy support my goal of having a home that supports me? Does this KitchenAid mixer that I never use that was given to me because it's the adult thing to have, if I'm not using it, it's taking up real estate, can I let go of it? It's really making sure that we're focused on the goal of having a clear home and being discerning and aggressive in the editing process because our health and mental health is top priority. And if we are not discerning and aggressive in that moment, then we're deciding the stuff is more important.
Speaking of mental health, okay, I have a couple more stats because I just think this is so crazy. And again, for the people listening who are feeling like, oh, yeah, I probably have some room to organize some things, get rid of some things, tidy things up. I'm sharing these to help us all relate to the real impact this stuff has over time. It's not just, oh, it's annoying to get ready in the morning. Okay, so a couple more stats, and these are recent from 2024. 57% of adults feel stress and anxiety from their cluttered homes. So more than half of people are admitting that it's stressful, our homes themselves. Then if we make some changes, reducing clutter eliminates 40% of housework. And we know from other data, most housework is done by women. If you're single, you're doing it. If you're married, we're still doing it usually. So just to cut down on 40% of our time of just managing the crap that we brought into our house, right? And then this one was really surprising to me. And this is from the Royal Australian College of Practitioners. People with extremely cluttered homes are 77% more likely to be overweight. So now within those stats, we talked about our mental health because we're more stressed out when our house has clutter. We talked about our physical health. We're more likely to be overweight when we're living in chaos in our home. And then we've talked about our time, cutting down all of this housework if we get rid of stuff. When you put it all back to back, you know what? I don't need the jeans.
Right. Just let the jeans go and I'll be okay. And when I purchase jeans in the future, I'm going to really think about the fit. Some jeans have that flexibility where they can fit at those 5-pound increments, whatever it is. It's just being more discerning. Do I really need these jeans right now? Am I in a space where this feels with a balanced weight that I typically am? Is it a reach? Is it summer's been fun, but now we're going to go back into the real world? I don't know. But really thinking about when we're shopping, the long-term impact so that you don't have to deal with these decisions and then feeling guilty. And I love how you're noting what typically falls on the woman. And it does. I'll work in homes with two CEOs, big time. The woman is still managing the entire home. And I find men can be more ruthless. And to me, I want women to get more in that space because what I see in those moments is yes, the man cares less and affects him differently, but he is being ruthless and being very intentional about how much time he thinks is worthy at this task. Where women will say, I can spend the whole weekend. I do enjoy doing it. So I see that, but I also can see when I'm doing it because I'm enjoying it or I'm prolonging it and it's now no longer worthy of my time. So really being intentional about your time, putting a dollar amount to your time and saying, if I spend the whole weekend doing this, this is actually costing me money. So being aware of that, it's not just an endless resource. We want to make sure that what we're putting into it, we're going to get back out.
It feels like we're stepping into this future self energy. And I want to hear how you help people do this because Okay, there's the editing part where we're working through this, looking piece by piece and really deciding, does this align with who we are right now? And then we make decisions about what we're going to get rid of. Then moving forward, while we're out in the world or we're sitting on the couch overwhelmed, and our instinct is to go to Amazon.com, whatever, and start buying stuff. How do we keep ourselves from doing that the next time? Do you do a lot of work with clients where it's okay, let's think about who you have become, who you are becoming in a positive way? Maybe you've become a person who doesn't like to host anymore, to your example. Maybe you've become a person who doesn't cook like you used to because you just don't find it fun. So you don't need to scroll and buy another cookie sheet. How do you help people feel into not just how they want to live in their home, but who they want to be?
To me, it's looking at their brand and understanding who they are as a brand and what is part of that, what fits into that. I find a lot of our clients that are childless, they become the caretaker for family, they become the historian for the family. There are people that will offload things onto them because it's, oh, this could be helpful for you. It's knowing your brand and having clear boundaries on what you will let in. And a lot of times we'll become the scapegoat or just, I work in the organizer and not bringing anything else in. And I'm like, great, use us, right? Because it's hard to just say no to people. I always tell clients, your calendar can be decluttered. Looking at what you're giving your time to, what events you're going to, what friends you're engaging with, and being very clear that you can omit those things. You can say no to them to go back to who you want to be, how you want to live, and how you want to show up in the different moments.
The calendar piece is a really good reminder. I don't think about that. And you mentioned how much time we put to stuff. The calendar piece, being intentional. I imagine once you start paying attention in one place, it's easier to start paying attention in the other places. And if we're being very mindful about what's allowed in our kitchen cabinets, then it's also okay, I can be mindful about how many meetings I do take in a day. I think we have more control. And I'm speaking to myself, who I often suck at this. I think we have more control than we're willing to admit sometimes. And it's so and so gave me this. So and so died and I inherited all of this stuff. I didn't want this anymore, but I know she spent a lot for it. I would feel guilty giving it away. It's the same energy there as it is to saying, I don't really want to go to this event, but this woman never invites me and I feel like I should say yes. No matter what we're talking about, we're acquiescing our power or believing that we're not really in control because so and so did something. Taking that back, maybe that's part of the key.
It's because all of those things, you go to the event, then you're tired, then you're on your phone scrolling, and then you're like, oh, influenced by something to buy. All of these things work together. So it's being really discerning how we live our lives. We're all moving so fast. Everything's coming at us. I personally have been influenced on 2 items in the last month, and I was, okay, Sarah, no more Instagram thing. The magnetic eyelashes didn't work. Their return policy is if we find that they were used, whatever they decide equals used, we could charge you 25% restocking fee. And I was like, well done, Instagram. Well done. Even me, someone that's so aware of this and is so in tune, I do it all the time. Not all the time. I don't shop all the time. There's things in my calendar. That's where I'm really, really have some struggle points on. But it's understanding it's not a linear journey. You are going to fall back into old habits. You are going to say yes to someone giving you things and being okay with that, almost laughing at yourself. Did it again. Okay, we're going to work on this because we want, even in that space, for it to be positive. I don't want shame and feeling of failure because then that's feeding back into that negative energy. And we want to keep everything as positive as possible. Life is short. It's okay. You bought something else. Okay. Let's maybe counteract it with a shopping freeze for 1 week to see how that feels, right? We're constantly trying to strengthen that muscle to support ourselves. And someone once told me, I just don't know why my brain doesn't tell me to eat a salad. My body knows I need nutrients, I need this good stuff, and it doesn't. And I think we depend on ourselves to do better, but we have to actively, constantly shift our decision making.
Just like the eyelashes, which so relatable. I get it. There's just so much stuff coming at us 100% of the time. And if eyelashes have been on your mind,
It's been like a year. They got me, and then it's not even good.
which is validating, but also infuriating because at that point you've spent the money. But every time I do something like that and I buy something and then it's done nothing, it doesn't work the way they say that it was going to. And part of me knew that it wouldn't, but I just had to know for sure.
I was at this point, it's been a year, it's gotta be good. No.
We're just inundated all the time. But I love the positivity and focusing on that. And yes, of course, we're going to end up inheriting something, buying something, whatever. That doesn't mean that everything is ruined. We don't have to go back to just filling our closet or our cabinets with crap. We can just have that one thing and then move forward.
Yes.
So tell me more about the transformations that you see when you work with people and you get through all this emotional stuff and they have their house set up perfect the way they want it to be. What do you see in people? What changes?
It's hard to describe a client. There's an echo in the space, and people won't understand it until afterwards. There is an echo in the space. It feels completely different. And there's a palatable feeling in the home after it's been done. And when clients can hold on to that and then they're building in maybe on following people or taking off apps off their phones, they're saying, okay, I've arrived. I feel really good. Now, what can I do to help sustain that? People will have the decluttering and then be like, oh, I can have a designer come in here and I can really finally lean into what I want my home to look and feel like. It's that thing that allows you then to upgrade in an intentional way versus buying things in hopes that that will give you that upgrade feeling. It's a moment for people to reset fully mentally, all their habits, all their mental shifts, and really sit in what it can feel like to finally feel good in our space, to come home after a long day and feel good in our space.
Do you notice an increased pride in their home?
Yeah. So there was a client a few weeks ago. She goes, I can finally have people over. She bakes, she's a single woman. She makes a big meal and then she gives out all of her friends to go orders. They can just come in, get food and leave. I don't care. I just love feeding my friends. And it's until we did that, it couldn't exist. It had to be on hold because she didn't feel good in her space. There's clients that have space that there's genuine volume. And then there's other clients where they're 5% away from their goal, but they just can't see it or they're just overwhelmed in their home. So understanding there's a full range of the clientele we work with and what it looks like to feel overwhelmed. If you don't feel good in your space, we can get you to the finish line. And understanding the finish line is not always a Pinterest perfect home. There's homes where clients are elated and they just feel so happy. The before and afters, there's a change and it looks different, but it's how they want their home set up. So it's another space where I want people not to think I should have it like this. I should buy these things. It has to be this way to be organized. It's continuing to do that gut check to feel what feels good to you and knowing you can adjust. You can organize a space, live in it for a week or two and be like, you know what? It's really annoying to get my coffee mug. So I actually want to ship this over here. So always taking note on what's working and what's not and remembering it doesn't have to stay how it is.
What are some things that you wish more people would do? Do you see a number one culprit where people are just blind to their stuff or the way they're keeping their stuff? Is there something that if everybody would just do this different, we would all be happier?
I'd like them to be more positive. They're like, oh my gosh, this box is awful. So we start with a negative, and then I start unboxing the box. Oh, just the top things are important, but I forgot that pillow was in there. We decide it's going to be hard before we even start. Go into it. Let me set a 15-minute timer. Let me just see what's in this corner, see what I want, see what I don't want, and then we can move on. So it's the initial roadblock with no data points that needs to go.
It's so true. Once you actually do it, a junk drawer or something. I know I've done this where I've spent more time thinking I really need to clean out the junk drawer than it'll ever take me to clean out the junk drawer. And I love setting a timer to continually prove to myself. I like organizing a lot. So to me, I enjoy that. But there's plenty of other house stuff that keeps our house nice that I hate doing. So when I set a timer, and that took 12 minutes, when I thought it was going to take 3 hours, I bet you could just do it. Just do it before you even turn on Netflix. It'll take you so much less than you think, but we build it up like that's a week. I can't start that now.
Right. And it's doing that check in, and you might not get it done, or it might be just as awful as you thought, but at least now you know. I think the other biggest thing is people think they need to plan for their space. I need more storage. I need this. You don't actually know what you need because there might be 10% of stuff in this space that's you want to donate. You might find there's 75% of stuff in the space that you want to donate, but we have to get in there and do the work. I think that's the scariest part. And that's the part that we want the cherry at the end, but we're not willing to live in it. We want to plan, we want to do everything but the actual work of seeing what we need, how we want to organize it, and What decisions have I delayed? What things have I feel shame about keeping, and what can I get rid of?
Digging in, actually taking everything out and looking at it. Do they call you and say, I already spent $600 at the Container Store. I'm ready for you?
They're like, "I love the Container Store." I'm like, "I don't. I hear you. I think it's a great resource. I think there's some cool stuff there." A lot of times they end up with a stockpile of bins that they either need to return or that they have now that is taking up space. And I'm like, if you could just snap your fingers, the bins were gone, your space would be done. So it's the same thought of buying anything. We want to feel prepared. We want to be ready. Look what I've done. I planned out this. Where unfortunately with organization, the planning and the doing has to be in the trenches, in the stuff before we can go buy anything shiny and fun.
What do you help people do with the stuff they're getting rid of? How do we get rid of stuff without feeling terrible? We don't want to throw this stuff in the trash can, but I think often people don't even know what to do with it.
Yeah. There's a good documentary out talking through that. I think we have to disconnect from this warm and fuzzy feeling because the stats are showing it's not going where we hope it goes. What we can do, we can use local buy nothing groups. We can donate to local thrift stores that are smaller where the content goes directly on their floors, making sure we're bringing them the best of the best and things that they're selling. If they don't have kid stuff, don't bring kid stuff. If they don't have books, don't bring books. Making sure when we're putting the effort to bring things places, it's going to have an impact and a positive one because a lot of these donation centers then have to filter through your stuff and throw out half of it. If we bring the best of the best, then the energy is good. They get to bring it right out and to serve people that need it. So, partially using local groups. And I think it's really easy to use those groups when we are not getting rid of carloads of stuff, right? When it's manageable. So after the reset, it's a great space to really lean into and put the energy in. Okay, I have 5 pairs of shoes I don't want anymore. Someone will be like, grab them, one swoop, and you're done. Where if you're like, I'm getting rid of my whole closet, it's a lot more management, a bigger project. There's also some great nonprofits and things that do need kitchen stuff or bedding, or if you have bedding that's worn, you can take it to animal shelters. So there are ways to get it out and feel warm and fuzzy. But if it's too specific on where we're bringing things, it's too much of a project. We don't have a car. So, how am I getting it there? We have to be honest with what we're capable of doing and what's possible. And saying, if I'm going to do the project of decluttering, the stuff has to be gone within a week. And I think a week is even a stretch because that becomes just a new pile of things that we have to deal with. Being intentional as we can, but the reality is we have too much in our world. We're buying too much and we have to really work on the habit of what we're bringing in. That's where we want to feel warm and fuzzy. Oh, great. I didn't buy that. Oh, I went to Target. I walked around. I got the tea bags that I wanted and I didn't buy anything else. We want to feel warm and fuzzy in those moments, not when we're trying to offload our clutter elsewhere.
You just said is so impactful. That's the takeaway I want for myself is shifting the warm and fuzzy feeling that it's an accomplishment. And I'm not saying go so far that we feel guilty if we did buy one extra thing at Target, but it's celebrating the accomplishment that I didn't really need anything and I didn't get it. I didn't spend that money. Girl math is my love language. It's very fun for me to come home and say, I basically made money today because I went to so and so store and I didn't get anything. But it took me a while before I felt like I went to a store and I didn't buy something. That was a waste of time, which is crazy now. But for a long time, shopping is an activity. The point is to go and get stuff. And if you come home empty handed, it feels, well, that was a failed trip. And now it is celebrating the warm and fuzzy feeling that we only have so many things. We have what we need. It took me 10 minutes to get ready because everything is in its place. Nothing felt chaotic. And then thinking about, well, what do I do with this extra time? And there's so many things that I would rather be doing versus buying stuff at Target and then trying to clean out a cabinet to fit one more mug in. I think that mental shift is not easy because so many of us, I think we're just waking up to how warm and fuzzy we've allowed ourselves to feel with connection to stuff. But I think if we can be a little bit more aware and just try one thing at a time, celebrating the not purchases, I think there's something there.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people like, well, I want to support women owned businesses or I want to support these small businesses that are around me. Have those lists for when there is a birthday or there is a holiday, and make sure when you're buying presents, it's from those companies or from those businesses, right? It's not about you can't do this or what we're taking away. It's making sure when you are purchasing, there's intention behind it. You feel warm and fuzzy about the whole transaction.
Yeah, I love supporting. We have so many great shops here in Chicago, but I'm also kidding myself to believe that my consumerism issue is related to that. It's Amazon. It's the stuff I overnight because I decide that I need it. Oh, I want a brass hook for that wall. Well, I probably want to put it up tomorrow. I'll get it on Amazon. No, make it a thing on Saturday to go walk around the local shops. I know one of them will have a brass hook. That delayed gratification too is key.
It might be a month or a year before I find the brass hook I really love, but I'm going to go to vintage shops. I'm going to find that. And that's not everyone's thing. And I can respect that. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy the search. It's finding what your thing is and how it can work for you, feel good, and support the end goal.
Sarah, what is important related to the topic of home organizing and the way we live in our homes that we haven't talked about yet?
Maybe if we do have a partner, understanding we can only control so much, right? We can control what comes in, we can control what we say yes to as people are bringing items in. But if we are in a relationship, there has to be a conversation about how we both want the home to feel and look. And there has to be certain boundaries of they really like this weird, awkward piece, but it's important to them. And so I'm going to love them and I'm going to love the piece. And we're going to find a place that makes sense in our home. I do find when we're working with couples, there's a lot of conversations that just aren't happening, but there are things that add angst to a day-to-day basis. And once there's clarity on why someone wants to keep a certain thing, or they like to pile their clothes, then this chair is where you pile your clothes. Having boundaries with the other people that we have in our homes or animals, even just how much clutter they have. It's understanding there's going to be other variables and we have to figure out how we can feel comfortable with them. And I think having the conversation and the boundary is important.
I won't name names in my friend group and just girlfriend conversations. Stuff is one of the most common fights, right? He uses 4 mugs throughout the work from home day, and I only use one. I don't understand. It drives me insane. They put their socks on this step instead of walking them all the way up there. Our interaction with stuff around the home that just drives people insane if you're not doing the same things. So, yeah, that's a big one.
I feel like I tidy the entire house, but I do put my cup in the sink and that drives my husband crazy. In my head, what's the big deal? Look around. Everything else is perfect. But I'm like, okay, that's your one thing. I have my one thing. It's finding ways to even negotiate those so that there's going to be moments where you're having a bad day, which is going to set you over the edge. But it's just finding ways once we reset and we have our home feeling good to avoid perfectionism, to be okay with things out of place, to really channel the Buddha of the home, we'll call it. It's the bigger picture, but just being okay with some things. And I think that's where I definitely know if I'm having a stressful day, my anxiety can be a bit higher and I want things perfect. But the stuff isn't really the problem. Like we need to find a way to calm ourselves down and feel better without satisfying the anxiety by making everything perfect.
Trying to control something we can control when we're upset about something we can't control.
Right. It's having that balance in there too.
Sometimes I think back to my single days living alone, and I prided myself on using one dish for dinner and washing it and putting it back. It's everything. I would have a folded blanket and put the folded blanket on my lap and then put it back. Feel like you did it, Emily. I can hear how lame this sounds. And my husband is not exceptionally messy, but he's not doing those insane things. He lives in our house as it should be lived in. And as soon as I think back to those moments, I'm like, okay, but thank God he lives here. I wouldn't sacrifice this relationship to have a freaking folded blanket and use one dish a day. It's so dumb. But in the moment, you said, I'm tidying everything and you're upset about this one thing. Just on this topic, do you help couples share the work? Is that part of your discussion? So it's not, okay, Emily hired me. I'm coming in. I'm working with Emily. Then I'm leaving and Dave will do whatever he does. Do you bring in the whole household as part of the maintenance planning?
That's the best case scenario when the whole household is active or involved in some capacity of the session. because it is everyone's home historically. There's lots of reasons why women were the ones responsible for all this. We need to delegate out, these are your chores and these are mine. And understanding there's grace during busy seasons for both partners, but we shouldn't feel like we have to ask the people in our home to do things when it should be a baseline. Everyone knows these are the activities we should be taking care of. When there's more than one person in the home, it's a conversation that just doesn't happen because we all followed suit to the things that historically we've always done. And so I think it's really important as women to have these conversations, which may feel silly, but are so important. Don't ask me if you can help me do the dishes. Say, I'm going to do the dishes. Those words have a huge impact. And to me, it's when those changes happen, there's so many other things that happen along with it.
Okay, that's a key takeaway. If you could leave people with one thing as they go into their week after listening to this, what's something that we can all do now, just as a first step, if we want to go on a journey of having a decluttered home?
I think it's doing an audit over the next week of things that felt stressful. Is it, oh, I agreed to do 3 things on Saturday and that was too much. Afterward, I felt like I should have just done 2. So taking a daily audit of what stressed you out and seeing if there are things that you could have omitted, or if my closet felt differently, getting ready for the day would have felt different. If I didn't go to the grocery store 3 times this week and then I had too much food, then I didn't eat it, then I had to throw it out, that didn't feel great. It's just taking a pause every day and just thinking, how could this have felt better? Because then when you have that list, it gives you an idea of how cluttered your week is, and then finding ways to tackle it. And don't tackle it all at once. Let me see if I can adjust this one mental space, a physical space. Let me see if I can make this adjustment to see if it helps next week.
Love that. Sounds really doable when you say it that way.
It might sound overwhelming, but it gives you a clarity. It gives you an idea where you're at, and that's the start.
That's the first step. For everybody who wants to learn more from you, or if you're in Chicago, hire you, or just continue to follow and connect, where's the best place for people to connect with you?
On our website, thecluttercurator.com, the connection page, setting up a call and sending photos of your space is really the best way to get this conversation going. It's just a call to understand where you're at, how we can help, or gives you the tools to get started on your own.
Beautiful. Okay, we will make sure that's linked in the show notes. Sarah, thank you so much for spending this time with us. I feel inspired. I don't want this stress. I don't want this mental health hazard. I want to live in a space that's easy breezy, beautiful. And I hope everybody listening, you deserve it. We deserve it. We can do this. And we deserve to live in a house that suits our lives exactly as we want it to.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you for listening. Now I want to hear what you learned. DM me on Instagram at Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman, or leave a review with your top takeaway. These ratings really do make a difference. If you're not a member of the Curious Life Club yet, you are invited. Visit CuriousLifeOfAChildFreeWoman.com to join the conversation, share suggestions, and be first to know the next curious topic. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week.